I'd like to call the committee meeting to order and start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. You can lead us again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please be seated. I'm going to make a little change in the agenda here because Water Committee has invited guests to come and speak. So, Joe, you're taking the place for Dave Hayes. It's your committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to call the Water Sewer Treatment Management Operations Committee to order. First up, we'll have Pete Baker from B&L give us a quick update. Pete.
Thank you. This is regarding South Districts 1 and 2, the Willard and the 5 Points treatment plant. As you know, B&L has been retained to complete the preliminary engineering report, and then our current contract is to advance next steps. By next steps, it's pursuing the funding for the projects. So what we've worked on is through Environmental Facilities Corporation, they issue what's called the intended use plan, the annual intended use plan. There are 5 projects in the sewer district that we're working on. 3 of them. We have some involvement with the third one with Hunt, and then Hunt's working on this 2 sewer rehabilitation projects. That intended use plan was issued. That scores the project, and that score determines what kind of funding the project's eligible for. The good news for the project, which has not happened previously, is the project scored above what's called the subsidy line, and it received an H designation. That H designation means that it's eligible for hardship financing, 0% financing. When we've developed the prior estimated user cost for the project, we've never really looked at hardship financing because in previous iterations of the IUP, project was not eligible for hardship financing. So that's the good news. That 0% financing in the world of a 30-year bond is equivalent to a 30 to 40%, equal to a 30 to 40% grant. So that's pretty much the good news for the projects. To get the grant, so the grants were announced. It's called the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act. It's the WIA is what we call it, through EFC. To get that grant, there's a few things that are required: completion of seeker, bond resolution, and then completion of the grant. So I'm here tonight to talk about seeker. We've provided the draft initiation of that seeker process, the environmental coordinated review process. That includes the draft resolution, which I believe the board will be passing tonight to seek lead agency status for the coordinated review. We have the draft resolution, which I believe Mitch and Dave have revised that resolution. We have the completed Part 1 environmental assessment form, which is submitted to all the interested and involved agencies, and the draft letters that would go with that. So everyone, EFC, DEC, DOCS, State Park, Department of Health, anyone that has some type of involvement would receive this letter stating that the county seeks to be lead agency under the coordinated review process. It's a standard process for the environmental review. That starts the process. Then we have 30 days to kind of complete that review, which we're on a contract to do. And then I think we are looking at coming back to the board probably about a month from now to kind of talk about the review. And after that, I think we're looking at completing that review and formally to complete the review in mid-November on that end. So that's really what I have to talk about. I've talked to, Mitch and I have been talking for the past couple months on advancing the process. We're here to doing it. So the grant's been announced. In parallel to that, we've been reaching out to DOCS. Mitch had submitted a request for funding. We have yet to, my understanding, we've yet to receive the final acceptance from DOCS as far as the funding goes. We will be asking for, in our bond resolution, we'll pretty much identify the amount to be financed. And then ultimately what the county does, the final amount to be financed will be predicated on what the grant amount received as far as the financing with the hardship financing, and then the agreement that would be had with DOCS. So that's, if there's any other questions, that was really all I had tonight.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Yes.
How come you never speak that short Town of Seneca Falls meeting.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm a little less comfortable in this crowd than I am in Seneca Falls. That's it. So,
If I could just add, I had sent, not to the whole board, but to the Water and Sewer Operations Committee, I will forward to the whole board. One of the things that Pete did in laying out the actions that have to take in the lead agency, the bond resolution, et cetera, is a schedule which is fairly tight and compact over the next 2 months. So I'll get that around to the full board, but we will have to be taking action pretty much every committee and every board meeting from now to November. Can you remind us what the WIA grant deadline is?
November 22nd. That's a Monday. So there are 2 full board meetings between now and then, and there are 2 committee meetings. So I believe the board meeting on the 11th, I think, is the one where we're looking at completing the entire process. There'd be a lot of sequential actions, seeker, bond resolutions. In advance of the bond resolution, there'll be draft, the map and plan basically, which is something we'll have 2 map and plans will be submitted in advance of that. So everybody kind of look at that. That pretty much just establishes the cost of the project and the mechanism for the county to secure funding for it.
So we have basically 2 meeting cycles, starting with tonight, to make some pretty significant decisions.
And I think the fact that to go into full meeting and pass that resolution certainly helps the process a lot. So we're appreciative of that. That's going to help that.
I have a question for you. So
Yes.
if we get 0% interest on the grants, on the loans, that might reduce the debt service.
Substantially. Oh, yeah. We used to say it's equivalent to a 40% grant in this day and age of like the financing, the rates are so low now. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily a 40% grant, but it's probably 20 to 30 to 40%, somewhere around there. So it's when we did prior evaluations, we were looking at 3.25%. Those are the numbers we were plugging in for that annual debt service. So the WIA grant's a 25% grant. So if we'll take 5 points, I think the price tag in 5 points is, I'll use round numbers, say $10 million. That's a $2.5 million grant. And that's just WIA. Obviously with 5 points, there's the DOC's contribution as well. And then there still are other funding mechanisms through RD, that type of thing. WIA kind of is the backbone of these grants. So it's a big program in the state, and pretty much every project we have right now is it's going to be a competitive program. So we want to make sure we're in line to get that money.
Mm-hmm. It's good news for the benefit users down there.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Pete.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Pete.
That being said, so issue number 1 is a resolution declaring the intent of the Seneca County Board of Supervisors to act as lead agency. So I've got
I have a, yeah,
Second?
second.
okay, any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Issue number 2, ongoing issues regarding water and sewer treatment management and operations. Mitch, you have anything on that?
The IMA with the Village of Waterloo has been up and running for about a month now. Things are going well. At some point, we're going to need to talk about the hillside decommissioning and whether we want to make that a part of the WIA grant. At one point, we start to compete against ourselves if we put in multiple grants for the same districts. So we'll have to consider that going forward. There was an email earlier today that was directed to Hunt from EFC asking for final reports for the I&I studies. So some of you that had I&I studies done for your towns may have a similar request. The EFC is looking for those reports to be finalized and submitted in the coming weeks. We did, as a reminder, we did do a CFA for Sewer District 2 to implement the I&I recommendations. The state has indicated that they're going to make award announcements in November this year, so that's coming not too far down the pike. Had a meeting over at the Village of Waterloo this morning to just go over some day-to-day logistics for billing and invoicing through the IMA. And the Water and Sewer Committee may recall, I think it was 2 special meetings ago down at Romulus Town Hall when Jim Bromke had outlined a list of recommended projects, and he was asked to prioritize the top 5. So we met on those today, and probably at the next meeting, I'll be able to report on actually starting to implement some of those recommended projects that were on that list that Jim had gone over. I think that was at the August meeting down in Willard. So I think that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you, Mitch. Does anybody have any unfinished business? Any new business? Water, sewer, treatment, management, operations is adjourned.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Next up, we're gonna have another change. Mental health services will be going next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the Mental Health Services Committee to order. We have 3 issues tonight on the agenda. Issue number 1, Supervisors approve Lakeview Health Services contract amendment. I'm going to bring up Margaret Morris to speak on these issues for us.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. So we enter into a variety of contracts using state aid, pass-through funding to organizations in the community who provide mental health services, Lakeview Health Services being one of them. We have historically had a relationship with the Elmira Psychiatric Center. They provided us with a full-time manager for the drop-in center, and due to staffing issues at the state, they terminated that memorandum of agreement with us after 20 years of providing us with that manager. So I reached out to the state, and we were able to identify $73,000 in idle funding that was sitting actually in Chemung County, and we were able to transfer it, if the board approves, over to our county in order to replace the funding that the state was using through the Elmira Psychiatric Center to support a full-time manager for the drop-in center. And so what we would do is we essentially would amend our contract with Lakeview Health Services. They already have experience in other counties running drop-in centers. They have a job description in place and a budget proposal already ready to go to the state. And so there would be no county match. This would be regular state aid funding added to the mental health department's state aid letter to support a full-time manager for the drop-in center.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right, second? We got a first and a second. Okay.
Good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, second issue, Supervisors exempt New York State Office of Addiction Services Award.
OASIS, otherwise known as the Office of Addiction Services and Support Services, is providing funding to each of their certified programs to help support workforce development, retention, hiring, recruitment, because they are aware of the significant workforce crisis that many of the behavioral health agencies are experiencing right now. So they're giving us $33,000 to use to support training for our staff who may be looking for additional credentialing. We can pay for that for them. Other, workforce development, training, and support initiatives. No county match, it's one-time funding to assist us with existing staff.
Perfect. Thank you, Margaret. Anybody have any questions for Margaret on this issue? No? Okay. Get a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, perfect, passes. Issue number 3, here's the big one, Margaret. Acceptance of the SAMHS Community Service Mental Health Centers Grant.
Thanks, Supervisor Enslow. For quite some time now, myself and local law enforcement agencies, the schools and other community-based organizations have had a vision for creating our own crisis response services in Seneca County to assist and support law enforcement as well as existing services in managing mental health crises and substance abuse crises in our community. With the pandemic, that crisis has increased quite a bit, and the chief and the sheriff, I'm sure, can speak more specifically to that if you have questions for them. We applied for this grant. We were one of I think, 250 awardees throughout the entire nation. It is a federal grant. We were really the only rural award in the entire region. I think, Mitch, there were really not that many awards in New York at all. And so we were awarded $2,888,545. This is 2 years worth of funding.
Can you say that again a little louder?
Sure, yes. $2,888,545 to Seneca County. It's a 2-year grant, no county match, and it will support in full the development and running of crisis support services, as well as the support to the infrastructure that we built to sustain telehealth services to our community members for substance abuse services and mental health services over the next 2 years.
Nice job.
Thank you, Margaret.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And commend you and your staff on the hard work and law enforcement. This is huge for Seneca County. Does anybody have any other questions on this topic? No? Can I get a motion? Second?
Sorry about that.
Second. You're all right.
I'd just like to make a public comment, if I could. Since Margaret has started here at the county, she's enhanced partnership with law enforcement dramatically. At the time when she started, nobody would have really thought of how important that is in this day and age of what we're entering into now, with everything with law enforcement that's been going on in the nation, and also with the pandemic that we're suffering through. Mental health calls for service in our town, Seneca Falls, in this past 6 months at the beginning of the year, we're up about 50% compared to other years. This is an enormous grant that we are all receiving, and Seneca Falls will benefit from that. This has been a vision of ours for a long time, with making sure that mental health services can get to the people that need them, that we don't have to have them come in to receive mental health services, that we can then get them to them, and that's going to be a huge help for law enforcement and everyone suffering from mental health crisis. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Sheriff?
Not much to say, except for I do know it's been a problem right along. And in the town, in the village of Waterloo, it's much higher than out in the county. Of course, there's more population there. That's probably 90% of the reason. But it has been something we've talked about for a long time, since Margaret came here. We've also done a lot of things like SIT training. We have the Palm Pilots. But you have to realize that we're a rural county in Ontario County. That's where we're going for most of our mental health help. And they're a lot busier in Ontario and some of them, and we're kind of left by the wayside. And this is going to be huge for us to be stepped up and be first, not second and third. So, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, wait, we have a first and a second?
One more thing.
Oh.
Jason Godley.
Oh, yeah. Chief Godley could not be here tonight, but he did, the Waterloo Police Department, along with Seneca Falls and the Sheriff's Department, were all very much involved in this effort, all wrote very strong letters of support to SAMHSA for this grant, along with, he was sorry he couldn't be here. He had planned on being here. I know that he reached out to Chairman Heisen just to share how much he is in support of this project and really excited about it. We did also have support on this project from every superintendent in every school district in the county, as well as emergency management for Seneca County, because we wrote funding in the grant to help support specific crisis training for 911 dispatchers.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Margaret. All those in favor?
Aye. You gotta do the
Opposed?
motion.
I already did.
Yeah, okay.
We're all out of order. All right. Opposed? No opposed. All right, motion passes. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Any unfinished business? New business? Mental Health Services Committee stands adjourned.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll start off at the top with personnel.
Are you sure? I mean, I went from first to third. You sure you want to go somebody else next, or?
Maybe.
You're the chairman.
I know. We'll give you a chance at it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 7 items, actually we have 8 items from personnel. The vacancy committee met earlier this morning. Well, actually, we just met a little while ago, but anyway, we met, and all of these were unanimously approved by the vacancy committee. Most of these do not need a board resolution, but some do. I'm a little short on my committee tonight, so Ron and Dave, don't be afraid to jump right in there, okay? Can I have a motion to refill vacant position in the highway department? The vacancy committee met on Tuesday and made the following recommendations: refill 2 part-time seasonal dispatchers, refill 2 full-time MEO lights. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Motion.
Thank you. Second, thank you. If you need a description on any of these, Chris is there to back it up. It's something I can't answer, but to move things along, these are seasonal people. We hire them every year for the highway department during the winter time. So, any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Issue number 2, refill vacant position in mental health department. The vacancy committee met today. Refill 1 full-time substance abuse counselor. Can I have a motion and a second for that, please?
Motion.
Thank you. And I will second that. Chris?
So this one was actually come before you because there was a resignation within the substance abuse counselor position. This actually is to refill the position that would be housed in the school district.
Any other questions for Chris? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Issue number 3, refill vacant positions in the Human Services Department. Again, the vacancy met today and approved this. 2 full-time casework trainees and refill 1 full-time clerk. Can I have a motion? Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Chris?
The caseworker trainees, one is due to a lateral transfer and the other has been vacant for approximately 6 months. We're looking to backfill both of those positions. The full-time clerk was due to a recent retirement.
Any questions here? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Issue number 4, refill vacant position in the Public Defender's Office. The vacancy committee met today. Refill 1 part-time clerk typist. This is due to a retirement. This is completely funded with the grant that we approved of earlier in the season here, early in the year. And this is due to, as I said, to a retirement for this position.
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions on this one? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Issue number 5, reclassification of 1 senior account clerk. Have a motion for that, please.
Motion.
Thank you. Chris?
This was actually brought up to you due to a succession planning session. The position itself, if it is reclassified up to a senior account clerk, would allow it to be a 62.5% approximately state aid reimbursement.
Any questions on this one? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Issue number 6, resolution of 1 caseworker, 1 child support coordinator, and 3 senior support investigators.
Motion.
Second, please. Thank you. Chris?
The employment and training counselor to a caseworker goes hand in hand with the lateral transfer there, so this would actually allow us to solidify that move. The 3 support investigators to 3 senior support investigators is essentially a retention plan. Within the services division, they have basically a set rule where if you've been in the caseworker position for 3 years or more, then you have the ability to move up to a senior caseworker. That's based off of recommendation from the Director of Services as well as passing an examination for that position. So we're trying to keep it consistent across the board within the Human Services Division. So we are looking to do the regular support investigator to a senior. The child support coordinator, that one we actually discussed with the union, and they are willing and able to allow that position to come out of the union and go into the management salary schedule, essentially being a dollar for dollar there. And I believe that was it with
Little bit, yeah.
resolution. Good?
No, I mean a little bit dollar to dollar, I mean, almost, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. I think that was it.
Any questions for Chris on this one? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Issue number 7, grade change for Director of Emergency Management. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second. Thank you. This has been a long time coming, my understanding, but Chris can probably fill in a little bit more details on this one.
Sure. So personnel receives job evaluation questionnaires usually when individuals feel as if they are either doing duties beyond their current title or they feel as if, they're out of the correct grade. So what we do is we evaluate it with a third-party administrator. They will review it based off of duties and minimum qualifications, and it actually came back to where we're recommending a grade 8. Coincidentally, going from a grade 8 to the correct step would be approximately $391 increase in a base salary. It just allows for future step increases.
Cindy, do you have a question?
No question.
Oh.
I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna be like you, Mike, and old enough I can say what I want. So basically, I just want some of us has-beens that were here to realize how lucky we were to get Melissa back. Anyone that was here with the previous administration knows what happened to her, and quite honestly, she probably could have owned the county, but well-deserved, and thank God we got her back.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Indeed, very, very true. Thank you for that little statement.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And the last issue is abolishment of long-standing vacant positions. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second. Thank you. These have been on the books for a while, right, Chris?
Yes, so per the policy, the refilling of vacant policy 101.201, any position that's been vacant for a year or more and has not had any action on it, whether that be personnel action forum going before the committee or the board, that they are up for abolishment. And so in working with the policy, these are up for your vote and to be abolished. I did go and send out an email to every single department head to make sure that they knew which ones were on the list to be abolished. The ones before you are ones that we are not debating on.
Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Is there any unfinished business for the Personnel Committee? Any new business for the Personnel Committee? Mr. Chairman, the Personnel Committee is adjourned.
Thank you, Supervisor Farrar. That wasn't so bad having to wait.
Third.
Next up, Human Services, Supervisor McGreevy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I call the Human Services Committee to order. We have 2 issues this evening. Issue number 1, Seneca County Division of Human Services, Qualified Individual QI Contractual Agreement with Crossroads Consulting Services.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Tracy.
This resolution is in regards to the Family First Act that will be starting October 1st, this Friday. What it is mainly doing is making sure that when we're bringing kids into foster care and they have to have a higher level of care in a congregate care residential setting, that there's a certain process we have to go through. And we're going to be contracting with these folks to do this process for us because you have to have somebody who's been approved by the state, and in our area, this is the only person that's been approved. So I put in here only $15,000 because right now we have no rate table set by the state. So I have no idea how much it's going to cost us. I don't know the reimbursables at this minute. I'm thinking it's going to be 62%, but they're telling us that we could possibly claim this through Medicaid dollars as well. We just don't have a lot of information, but it starts Friday and I have to have something at least on the books. So in case we have a child that needs this type of evaluation, we can get it done.
Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the board?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Trout.
Crossroads Consulting Services. I always thought Crossroads Consulting Services was like an abstract company. This is definitely not that.
No, this is a mental health service.
Yeah, okay. It's just confusing to see the name there.
At the crossroads.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? Not, we've had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Thank you, Tracy. Issue number 2, approve 2021 resource allocation plan for state aid funding for youth programs. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is an annual resource allocation plan that the state of New York provides funding to support youth programs. At least this year's amount puts us back to where we were prior to 2020. So it's the full level that we had received back in 19. So it brings us up to level funding. And wasn't cut this year like it was last year initially. There's no withholding, there's nothing, so.
Any questions from the committee? Questions from the board? Not, we've had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Thank you. Any unfinished business to come before the Human Services Committee? Any new business? Not, Human Services is adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman McGreevy. Next up, Planning, Development, Agriculture, and Tourism, Chairman Barnhart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one issue before the Planning, Development, Agriculture, and Tourism Committee tonight. First issue is to designate the Seneca County Chamber of Commerce as the county tourism promotion agency and authorize application for matching funds program in 2022. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Cronenwetter. Is there a second? Mr. Brownell. Any discussion?
Yeah, can somebody explain what this is?
This is our annual designation of the Tourism Promotion Agency. Traditionally, we have awarded this to the Chamber of Commerce, and then we follow this up next month with the room tax, the amount of room tax money that we award to the TPA.
So what does this, how does this 150, what designates this as compared to what we give them in another month, which I think last year was 450, unless I'm wrong, somebody correct me.
Go ahead.
This is a different pot of money. Mitch, can you explain it?
Okay.
I can. It ultimately comes out of the full pot, if you will, what has been the 90% allocation. The designated TPA resolution has to include the local match for the money that, I believe it's I Love New York that comes in. Traditionally, it's like 60 grand. Last year, they didn't award it at all. So this only relates to committing the local match for state money that would not be the bed tax money that is generated here.
This is addition to the 90%, correct?
Yes.
So why is it 150 when, correct, I remember it used to be.
Actually, I think in prior years, it was, in this TPA resolution, it was actually more that was in there. And in the unlikely event that we were going to get more, you wanted to be able to cover the match. I believe last year's resolution may have even had 300,000 as the committed match. But I thought that given that what I heard from talking to Jeff was that he thought the number was going to be most likely 60. And in all honesty, given that when we get to the point of debating the allocation, be it 90% or a fixed amount, that having this number be a little lower now might add some comfort to knowing that the broader debate on the dollar amount would come later. But this, again, at the sake of redundancy, is just the match for the state I Love New York money that would come here. It's not related.
So if we don't match it, they don't get the 150,000 from the state?
Or the 60, whatever
Right.
it is,
Yep.
yes.
That's, I think, the maximum the state gives out is 150,000, so I think in the past.
Well, I know, but that's a big
Past years,
difference.
they've always asked for the maximum.
I know, but that could be up to 150. So I guess if it is, then we could relook at what we actually give them then with the other figure, correct? If it's more than
It just comes
60.
out of the 90%.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Exactly. All right, just so everybody's aware. Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Any unfinished business for this committee? Any new business? Mr. Chairman, Planning, Development, Agriculture, and Tourism Committee is adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman Barnhart. Next up is Government Operation Chairman Cindy Garlick-Lorenzetti.
Thank you, Chairman. I have one issue. Maintenance and support agreement by and between NTS Data Services, LLC, and Seneca County Board of Elections.
So motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Okay, I'm adjourned, thank you.
Good, thank you, Chairperson Cindy Garlick-Lorenzetti.
Thank you.
Next up, Public Safety, Chairman Burnell.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. One issue tonight, Board of Supervisors declares vehicles, firearms, and equipment as surplus.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
How do we buy this stuff, Sheriff?
Oh, Sheriff?
Well, we use the auction service that the county uses for category 2 and 3. And category 1, I'm looking into using Hessney's auction service because they're an FFL and they would do an actual auction. So we're just cleaning out all this extra stuff that we have and trying to get rid of it.
Good. I have an answer on how people can purchase these guns now.
Yeah, it'll probably go to Hessney's. I just want to make sure that they can do it. But that way it's an auction and they are an FFL and so.
It's gonna be the first question out at the Sportsman's Club when I get there tomorrow.
There you go.
Call it tonight.
No, tomorrow's the drinking day.
And Bob Lonsberry talks about Hessney's auction all the time.
Any other questions? Now, do we hear a motion to approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on the unfinished business? Any new business? That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chairman Burnell. Next up, Finance, Assessment, and Insurance, Chairman Reynolds.
Thank you, Chairman Heiston. I guess we just got one thing. We're gonna talk county budget. Mitch or Haley or both or?
I think I can take it. A reminder that August 20th was the deadline for all the county department heads and their staff, and also working with finance to submit their requests for 2022. As of yesterday, Haley and I have completed one-on-one with the departments that it was necessary. There were some departments that are either really small that had no change, or just it wasn't necessary to have a meeting. It was a very much a status quo. So we have some adjusting entries to make as a result of those one-on-one department meetings to complete. Another pending matter that will affect some further adjustments is the resolution that cleared the Personnel Committee tonight regarding the abolishment of those positions. Some, but not all of them, were entered in with dollar amounts for salary and fringes for 2022. And so on October 12th, when the resolution is considered by the full board, should it pass, we will take the salary and fringe amounts out for those positions. And one other variable is that 9/30, 2 days from today, will be the last day for the quarterly receipts for the hotel motel tax, so that we can plug in both the revenue and the expense for the last known 4 quarters. And the one last pending item is continuing to track sales tax revenues, which after a tough year last year because of the impacts of COVID, those numbers are really strong this year. We never know definitively from the state, business by business, where it's coming from. You generally know the industry sectors. But part of me thinks that the enhanced unemployment and some of the stimulus money that went in probably has escalated some of the spending this year, and it may not be the same as last year. So with those 5 or 6 pending to-do tasks, the goal / plan would be that I would file the tentative budget with the board, with Margaret, on Friday, October the 15th, which would then put the budget into your hands, the supervisors. I'm very optimistic right now that we will be able to hold the line again this year on the property tax levy, honor all of the department's requests, along with our affiliate organizations. Real quick on that, Cornell Cooperative Extension, Soil and Water, the libraries, Beverly Animal Shelter, those requests have all come in. They have all asked for a modest increase, not a big increase. And so the numbers that are plugged in right now are what they asked for. So once the tentative budget is filed, as we've done the last few years, is that I would talk to Mike and others in leadership on the board about whether you want to have workshops set up on a Saturday morning, et cetera, and bring the department heads in to make presentations. We're fortunate the last couple of years that we were able to hold the line on taxes and departments. There were no tough decisions to be made, and you had decided not to do workshops. So frankly, I think that's the best of all scenarios. Everybody gets what they need. We're not raising taxes, but that'll ultimately be a board decision. But again, the plan would be the tentative budget would get filed on October 15th. And then we have till December, you have till December 15th to adopt. So I'll get that in your hands with a summary, probably some charts showing, you know, some graphs of some trends with property tax, sales tax, what we use in the tax. Right now, Haley did the analysis under the policy. We could use up to $4 million in the tax reserve, out of the tax reserve fund. Right now, I have $3 million in there, and it was like 2.4 or 2.5 last year. So still a couple moving parts, but all in all, things are looking pretty good. So I just wanted to give you an update tonight. Okay.
I guess. Yep.
Okay. Mitch, is our intent to at least set up the tax cap resolution, or you don't feel that there's a need to do that?
Great question. Haley ran the analysis. So the adopted 21 budget, the tax levy is $10,295,000. That's the number I have plugged in right now, which would keep the levy flat and actually takes the rate down. Jim knows more about this than I do, but not every town is at 100% equalization rate. So for the towns that are at 100%, the rate would actually go down. We can go to, I think it's 10.8 or 10.9. So I think we have 600,000 or 700,000 that we could raise the levy and stay within the cap. I don't know if you have that in front of you, Haley, but I remember it was like 10,800,000 we could do to stay under the cap.
10,645.
All right, I was a little high. So we're still got, you know, we still got some room there. And when the tentative budget gets filed, and if it's tighter than I think it's going to be, some municipalities, village, town, city, pass a tax cap override just as a precautionary measure, just to have that if you need it. But right now, I don't think we're going to need to do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Crow, got a question?
Thank you. Is there any money in this coming budget for a solid waste management plan?
The short answer right now is no, but you have, and Dave Ettman and I met earlier today to go over some stuff related to tonight's meeting and some other things, and that was on our list. You have authorized the RFP to go out for that, and then the engineering study. So the ball's in my court. I found a good model from Montgomery County. They did an RFP. So the short answer is I didn't plug a dollar amount in yet, but if the RFPs come back and there's a good proposal that the board wants to go with, because the last time RFP went out, I think it was in 16 or 17, but the proposals came in kind of high and then the board didn't want to spend the money. But we can either,
Ain't gonna be any cheaper.
yeah, that's true. But then we could either pull some money out of the contingency fund, or we could appropriate a little bit of fund balance. If you want, I could plug a number in there, just so we have a placeholder. I think there's room to do that. So I'm glad you brought that up. So I will put it in a generic professional services line and put a decent amount of money in there to cover that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Cindy.
But, and then we can add like to, when we get it, to other organizations that we may want to up it from what it was the previous year, correct?
The affiliate organizations? Yes, and then there's
Like I'm thinking of the lakes.
yeah, and on that note, you know, Paul has gone on the QEO board, and I'm his alternate, and I attended the meeting last Wednesday night. It was virtual, and they have submitted a request for us to be dues-paying members. I think it's about 6,300, and between the two watershed organizations and that, the board has often felt that, you know, hotel motel tax money was appropriate for that, because if we don't have the quality of the lakes, we wouldn't have the same kind of tourism. So absolutely.
Okay.
And I think 2 years ago, we used the term earmark as a part of the resolution that adopted the budget, that there were specific earmarks. So we can certainly work through that once the budget's in the board's hands.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions from anybody? Hearing none, I guess. That's all I got. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Hearing none, I guess finance, assessment, and insurance is adjourned.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman Reynolds. Next up, Public Health Services, Chairman Borst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll call the Public Health Services Committee to order. We have 3 issues tonight. Issue number 1 is going to be to accept the New York State Department of Health Lead Poisoning Prevention Program grant. Vicki.
Motion. Second.
This is a grant that the Health Department gives us annually to help support our activities with the lead poisoning prevention program. This is the exact same amount that we got last year, so just we need a resolution to go ahead and approve it so we can expend the funding.
Okay, any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Right, issue number 2, approved service agreement with the S2AY Rural Health Network for network membership and quality improvement activities. Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All right.
Okay, thank you. We've been a member of the Say Rural Health Network since 2003, and it's a combination of 8 health departments, and I've talked about a lot of stuff we do on a regional basis. Our emergency planning we do on a regional basis, all of our policies and procedures. We work on a lot of our grants together. So this is again, our membership amount for that. It has gone down just a little bit this last year. I think it was 18,500 last year. This year it's 18,375.
Okay, any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And number 3, approved contract with Quadrant Biosciences Incorporated for COVID-19 PCR testing in the schools. Could I get a motion?
Support.
Second?
Second.
Okay, as you remember, we got the school testing grant, $1.15 million to help assist the school districts with setting up testing in their schools. We've had the contracts, we've gotten the plans together. The schools will be using the Vinex Now cards for antigen testing, where we get the results back within 15 minutes. We're also setting up this contract to do PCR testing, which is the molecular testing, if someone is symptomatic or if they come in symptomatic, or there's a consideration that they want to do a PCR test for more definitive answers. This is 3 out of the 4 school districts will be using this contract. What we will do, it'll be pool testing. They will do the samples, and I think it's up to 6 samples go in. If that comes back, then they run the individual test so they can find out which of the individuals in that pool were tested positive. Not sure how much we're going to be using this, so we kept the budget large in order to be able to do the capacity for this grant. I anticipate that we probably won't spend this much, but if we do, we need to have the money in the grant, in the budget, which we've got plenty of money in there for this.
Any questions?
Excuse me, Vic. Oh,
I have a question. How many test kits and tests does this cover? Or how much they cost?
The pool testing is $20 a test for a pool of 6, so then it's $120 for a pool. If that pool comes back positive, then it's $85 for each individual test to do. So if you send a pool of 6, something comes back positive, then you need to pay $85 for each of those 6 tests to be run again individually.
Cindy?
Right, Vicki, so this is for the testing and to have it analyzed, but did you guys all figure out how they're testing, or how was that left with the schools?
How they're testing yet?
Who's doing the testing, I guess, is a better way.
South Seneca and Romulus are doing it in-house with their current staff, and Romulus and, Waterloo and Seneca Falls. The county will be hiring or contracting with individuals to be doing that.
Did Romulus and South Seneca keep their own staff to do it, or did they hire people to come in? Or were they utilized?
South Seneca kept their staff, Romulus kept their staff, and then I think they had a part-time that they made full-time.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
How much was the original grant, the total amount, do you remember?
1.15 and some change. 1.15 million and plus change.
And you're just taking the 250 just for the testing?
Just for the testing, mm-hmm. And I have another 250 in the contract for a second company. And if we do that much testing and we need a second company, I have $250,000 budgeted for a second company if needed. But I have not contracted with that because I just don't know if we're going to need it at this point.
You know how you may have stated the testing, are they going to do it by just a random pool of kids in the schools, or is that left up to the schools?
That's up to the schools because there are no requirements for testing at this point. So there's not 10%. Each school has like their own plan of what they would like to do, maybe 10% or 5% or whatever. So it's up to the schools. It's up to the schools to get, it's all parental permission. If parents don't give consent, then they're not going to be able to do any testing. For some of the school districts, as you know, the school teachers are required to either be fully vaccinated or weekly test. They will be doing the testing on the teachers for this also.
So who pays for the test for the teacher if they aren't vaccinated?
So, well, it'll be paid for out of this grant.
Oh. But healthcare workers couldn't get it.
Not through this grant. This is specifically for the schools.
They were all fired.
Well, they have their choice of, well, the healthcare workers now they had to have the vaccination. They don't have the option of getting tested weekly.
Well, I kind of get what he's saying, though. And honestly, this is grant money. Maybe the teachers that don't get vaccinated should pay for their own testing. Just throwing that out there, even though.
Well, that's
I think if you talk to your attorney, he would probably advise you not to do that.
I'm sure. I'm just throwing it out there, Mike.
But it's up to the school district.
It's up to the school. It is an allowable expense.
Right, it's up to the school district to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
Well,
theoretically.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean,
grant money, taxpayers.
The employer, in other words.
Then you can have a teacher shortage.
I have to ask a question, that's all.
All right.
And just so you know, I'm sorry, I am asking this to go to the board tonight so that we can expedite this.
excuse me, Vicki, did you say one of the districts wasn't involved in this? Didn't you say?
One of the school districts does not want to do the PCR testing.
And what district is that?
Waterloo.
Waterloo. Okay, thank you, Vicki.
Yep.
They aren't going to do what?
One of the test types, second PCR test.
A PCR test.
But they're doing the rapid.
They're doing the rapid.
Was there a reasoning, seeing how the grant's paying for it?
I really couldn't pinpoint them down why, they just did not want to do it. I mean, that may change as we get into this and they see how it's working in other school districts and what the benefit could be, because if a child goes home sick, they're going to need a PCR test to get back in, and sometimes they're difficult to get now because they are scarce.
Yeah.
And then the alternative is the child stays home for the 10-day quarantine, which are going to be in the same boat too if you have a child that goes down to the nurse's office with nausea or a headache or a fever, and the parents won't consent to let them be tested, they're going to be sent home, and they're going to have to stay home for the quarantine period if they don't get tested. So, I mean, the whole point of this grant is to have the testing available in the school so they can keep the children in the school and not have them home on quarantine. That's our goal.
Other question, how about the Spring Lakes Christian School?
They are not participating.
They aren't participating?
No, we reached out to them, and they have declined.
What if it becomes mandatory?
Well, if it becomes mandatory, whether they will then come back into this grant or not, that's a question for the state later on down the line. We reached out to the Amish and Mennonite schools and to the Christian schools. There's 2 Christian schools in Seneca County, and none of them they've all declined to participate.
That's good information to have, to know anyway.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Okay. Carried.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Public health is adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman Borst. Next up is Public Works, Chairman Trout.
Public Works will come to order. Issue 1, award construction contract for abatement and demolition of structures at Sampson Veterans Memorial Cemetery. Got a motion, I get a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We want to talk about it, or we're just tearing stuff down?
Reminder that the county is a recipient of a $900,000 capital grant. There was, as a part of our discussions with the state about transferring ownership and operation to the state as the first state veteran cemetery, there was some effort to try to have this grant repurposed and or reprogrammed. Those efforts weren't successful, so the state has asked us to move ahead with abatement and demolition of the former steam plant and incinerator building and some other related site work, which will ultimately lead to a reflecting pool and above ground columbarium niches. We had a bid opening this past Wednesday. The low bid is for $212,000 for a firm out of Binghamton. It is substantially below the estimate that the architects and engineers put together. This will be what's called a controlled demolition. When the bids went out, some of the contractors had visited the site and had some concern about the condition of the building and going in and or up on the roof to abate asbestos. So county codes went out, looked at it, determined that the buildings were unsafe, they were condemned. There was an addendum that went out to do the controlled demo, which I think in part brought the price down. There'll be air monitoring and some other things that are done under Code Rule 56 from the Department of Labor. So did ask that this be considered at the special board meeting after committees tonight. We're trying to keep this moving so that we can, realize the transfer to the state as soon as practical. So.
Okay. Any more discussion? Motion made and promptly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Issue 2, authorize agreement with John Snyder Architects to develop bid specifications and solicit bid for Seneca County Department of Human Service renovations.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Now we're gonna hear a whole bunch of stuff and pay attention. It's complicated.
So as you know, this past spring, we did phase 1 of relocating some of my staff because of excess space we have and getting my staff all in proximity with each other. Well, we're ready for phase 2, and this would be phase 2 that we're wanting to solicit bids for. And what it would cover would be a centralized reception area. And because currently we have 3 and we would like 1 with more than just 1 window for people to be greeted so we can move people in and out quicker through our department. It would also have interview rooms, a resource room that we currently have, but that would be revamped, and the rest of our IT and welfare management system operations to be moved closer toward the other staff that we just moved. The funding is available in our 2021 budget. We are not going to give any numbers because we want to solicit it for bids to see what that would be, but we definitely will be able to have 62% reimbursement. None of this will be covered by any of the CARES funding that we have for any renovations or capital projects. This would all be through money that we currently have in our 2021 budget. Question?
Basically, it consolidates in the way that makes her more efficient in everything that she does in the county, and it's also going to be possible to bring Glove House over, and she takes care of a lot of the Glove House action, and then you're bringing them all into one centralized location with a way that doesn't raise the budget for next year or cost us more money. So I believe I believe everybody should be very happy
It
with
saves you money, correct?
Part of our FMP rolling into this, so there'll be a third phase to this, and then we'll be continuing on from there with the rest of the FMP if that's suitable for the board.
Hearing no discussion, motion made and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That went way easier than I thought it would. All right. On next, closing of Route 318 sewer capital project. What's that?
You did a good job.
You just can't wait too long so everybody gets antsy and starts asking too many questions. You know, I got the facilities master plan passed like that once, because nobody asked any questions. And I think you and everybody else started pumping the brakes on me at the next meeting. All right, closing of Route 318 sewer capital project. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Haley?
Yes, we spoke about this at the last committee meeting, and just as a wrap-up, we brought forward the resolution for the Route 318 capital project, which was originally authorized for $10 million, and the project final costs were $8,417,000 and some change. Therefore, we have leaving a cash balance of $2,575,503 that we would like to close and roll that cash into a debt service fund.
This isn't for real, is it?
Under budget. Yes.
We've been doing this how many years?
It's for real.
All right, cool.
Questions from the committee?
Well, that's not real in the fact that it's been, the transfers happen. This is just, excess money that they're gonna close the project on and put it in a bank account. The transfer, nothing like that's happened yet.
Yeah, we just didn't do 9 of the other 50 add-ons to the project, so here we are. Questions? Motion made and probably seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Issue 4, creation of Route 318 sewer debt service reserve.
Second.
Motion made and probably seconded. Haley?
So as a follow-up to the prior resolution, this one is just setting up the debt service reserve for the Route 318 sewer district and giving us the authority to transfer the $2,575,000 into that reserve fund.
Sounds simple.
Yep.
You know, there was no discussion last time. Motion made and probably seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Haley. Something new, support town of Covert request for a guide rail near 9233 State Route 96. Got a motion and a second, we'll discuss it.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and probably seconded, discussion. Mitch?
This resolution has been brought here in support of Town of Covert's action at the request of Supervisor Reynolds. It provided a draft resolution and we tweaked it to put it in the county format. And so Mike, I don't know if you had anything you'd like to add.
The guy wants a guardrail. The state's throwing guardrails all over the county.
I've noticed.
And he wants a 10 feet in front of his house there because he lives on a point on 96 there, and he's afraid somebody's going to plow into his house there. And he'd asked for a guardrail a while ago, and state come in and did their fancy study, and they said it don't need one. So, but then you notice that they're throwing guardrails up everywhere now, and he says obviously they got money for guardrails. And so he went to Pam Hemling, and she said she would hammer them hard if the town passed a resolution and the county passed one. So I've done my part, and just asking you guys to do the same. And not saying it's going to go anywhere because the state can stand there and say no, we don't want this anyway. And But it's worth a try, I guess. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah,
So it doesn't cost us nothing.
Doesn't cost us anything. No.
just the
Let's
resolution
see.
supporting it.
Motion.
Good luck, because I tried to get East Lake Road decreased to 45, and we tried.
Yeah, they do their studies. Oh, I don't need
Yep,
it.
but I definitely think we should pass the resolution.
How many feet of guardrail do they want?
I don't know, maybe 20. I don't know.
Oh.
Huh?
One piece of guardrail.
Yeah, one section of guardrail, just to protect this house there, because there used to be a gas station there back in front of the house. A tractor trailer took care of that one night and cleaned that all off. And
I can see his concern.
So now just got the house there left, and he's concerned.
I do want to add one of the other factors with this is even though the town or the county doesn't have the authority to go stick a guardrail up there when the DOT says, you know, that's their business. In the event that something happened or somebody was injured, we would be in a much stronger position, having said, look, we wanted one and the state didn't give us one. So it improves our qualified immunity if something happened there. So obviously having it would be a good thing, but specifically asking for it is equally a good thing.
All right, well, I can't see anybody saying no, so motion made and probably seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. New business, old business, hearing none. We're adjourned.
Thank you. Chairman Trout. Next up, Indian Affairs. Chairman Lott is not here tonight. Vice Chair Barnletter.
Well, there's lots of action going on in Seneca Falls with cigarette sales on every corner. Other than that, I don't have any information on what anybody's going to do about it. But the Hugo Nation Unity Council end of it opened up the Sky Dancer gas station across from the cemetery on Baird and Stevenson Street again, and selling gas and cigarettes. And Clint Halftown in retaliation selling them on the by the manufacturing on a couple different corners to flaunt the zoning laws in Seneca Falls. So other than that, nothing.
Well, just, I mean, if you're going to throw stuff up there, just let's make sure we get it all accurate, okay? So first of all, besides the Finger Lakes Times thinking that decisions like this are made in 24 hours and so forth, and Mr. Halftown sending numerous lawyers after the town of Seneca Falls, it is a zoning issue only, and the town of Seneca Falls has issued a letter to the owners of the building, which is not the Hugo Nation, it's the Seneca Hugo Nation of Oklahoma, who, by the way, they're 100% current in their taxes and have been for the last 8 years. They got a notice of to appear in front of the zoning board to ask for a special use variance for the property, which historically the property has been a gas station store for 85 years, and it's been in an R1 for that long. So that would be a zoning board's decision as to if they get a special use variance. In the meantime, they will remain in operation. As far as the Hugo Nation opening up Kool-Aid stands and cigarette stands, so forth. Again, there's nothing in our zoning laws that say they cannot do that. As long as they're on their property, then there is certainly nothing that we have done. Again, we are continuing to research that in our zoning laws and looking for some different clarification. But as of right now, they're not in violation, but that's still under investigation.
I have a question for the supervisor. So it had been previously a gas grocery store, and it's in R1. They're coming just to be, why do they need a special use permit then? Do they just need a permit to reopen if it's already been zoned that?
There would be two ways to handle it. That the zoning officer could I can't always forget the terminology. It's Dave, it's
Issue the,
always been an existing property.
yeah,
Pre-existing
Thank you.
Grandfather.
yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
That could have been one way to handle it, or they could have, again, the second way is a special use variance type of thing. Again, I'm not a lawyer or a zoning officer, but that was the decision of those, of our attorney and the zoning officer to have them get a special use permit, which I see no issue in doing that. You know, it'll never, I would be completely amazed if it was denied.
Oh, good, I hope.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, you'd
No.
be in
I
trouble
think the
probably.
only reason it's necessary because after so many years of inactivity, it reverts back to our ward.
Right, and it's you know, it's been vacant for 8 years, and I think the law says that it's got to be, if it's vacant for a year, then they have to appear in front of the zoning board again, either for a special use or.
Okay, permit.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
I do have another issue for Indian Affairs.
Let me finish one question.
Oh.
Paul, you mentioned about the traditional, or the Unity Council running that gas station. It's only run by an individual from the Unity Council.
Right.
It's not, it doesn't have the blessings of the Unity Council. That may
You're right.
That may come up in that zoning meeting.
Mr. Parker or something to that.
Justin Parker, right.
And you're 100% right from what I understand, but again, I don't, you know, we have no control. That's something that the, you know, somebody at a higher pay grade than us is going to make the decision that they can do that tax-free or not.
Yep, that's a good point there. Okay, Cindy, you got a
Yeah.
question?
So are we gonna discuss possibly the, I don't think it needs to be in executive, does it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay, I guess I'll wait till later.
Okay.
Okay.
Any unfinished business with the Indian Affairs? New business? This committee's closed.
Okay, thank you very much. Vice Chairman Cronin-Letter. You're on a roll. I'll let you do environmental affairs next.
Yes, we met 2 weeks ago, and the committee, prior to that, had brought forth a resolution on a septic tank inspection. And we had a vote for a public hearing on it, and I wasn't fast enough, and we had lots of votes and amendments, and we finally have it here finished. And next week we'll have or in 2 weeks in Ovid, we'll have a public hearing on a septic tank inspection program. And that's all I have on that. Any unfinished business or any questions? New business? Environmental affairs is over.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Cronin-Letter. I think we're done with the committee meeting. Right, County Manager? Yep. Roll. Okay. Anybody need to go take a break for a minute before we do the special board meeting? Margaret, are you ready? Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order, this special board meeting of the Seneca County Board of Supervisors for September 28, 2021. Please, the clerk, could you do a roll call?
Supervisor Reynolds?
Here.
Supervisor Garlic Lorenzetti?
Here.
Supervisor Brownell?
Here.
Supervisor Barnhart?
Here.
Supervisor Borst?
Here.
Supervisor Hayes? Supervisor Ferrara?
Here.
Supervisor Cronin-Wetter?
Here.
Supervisor Lott? Supervisor McGreevy?
Here.
Supervisor Heisen?
Here.
Supervisor Trout?
Here.
Supervisor Clear?
Here.
Supervisor Enslow?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, yes, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please be seated. Next up is resolutions and motions. First resolution is the public health, public works, excuse me.
Award construction contract for abatement and demolition of structures at the Sampson Veterans Memorial Cemetery.
Motion, second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. No, what, that resolution? Next, okay, well, I haven't gotten there far yet. Okay, no, next, no, the second one at the bottom is, that's still.
Number 5?
That's under water, right?
Sewer and water, yep.
Water and sewer. Okay, resolution number 5.
Resolution declaring the intent of Seneca County Board of Supervisors to act as lead agency.
Support.
For a second there. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next up is public health. Number 6.
Contract with Quadrant Biosciences Incorporated for COVID-19 PCR testing in the schools.
Support.
Okay. A second there. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next up, we're gonna go into executive session, but I got it, Chip. But Supervisor Borst would like to say a few words.
Yeah, could I have Vicki come up to the podium, please? As everybody probably knows, Vicki is only here for a few more days, and then she's off to better places, probably.
Sounds like a dying animal.
Because of that, we have a proclamation of Seneca County Board of Supervisors for Vicki Swinehart. In recognition of your retirement from the County of Seneca Public Health Department as Director from 2003 to 2021, and whereas Ms. Vicki Swinehart joined the County of Seneca Public Health Department in 1992 as Public Health Nurse, and whereas Vicki rose within the ranks of the years as Supervising Public Health Nurse, Director of Patient Services, and subsequently to Public Health Director in 2003, and whereas Vicki's work in the public sector has largely influenced the operation standards and developmental projects throughout the county's public health department. And whereas Vicki has led the public health team to achieve state accreditations, and whereas Vicki spearheaded the COVID-19 pandemic response, providing vaccinations, testing, etc., to ensure the health and safety of Seneca County citizens, and whereas Vicki's persistence, advice, and dedication will leave a long-lasting impact for decades to come, and whereas Vicki retires on October 18th, 2021 after 29 commendable years with the County of Seneca, now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Joseph Borst, Chair of the Public Health Committee of the County of Seneca, on behalf of the entire Board of Supervisors and residents we serve, recognize Vicki Swinehart for her years of dedication and commitment to the county, and hereby congratulate her on the occasion of her retirement from the County of Seneca.
Thank you very much. This is really very unexpected, so I thank you very much. And even though these last couple years have been difficult, for the most part, the last 29 years have been very good. I did not plan to work for 29 years when I came here. I came here to work for a few years and then be a stay-at-home mom. That didn't work out that way, and I've been here for 29 years. So it's been a good job, and I'm glad it's over with now, but there's a lot that leaves to be done. I think public health over the next 2 to 3 years is going to change dramatically, and I think I'm leaving it in good hands with the staff that we have. But I thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Vicki.
Okay, next up, we have executive sessions. So, I don't know who's doing the first one. Am I doing the first one or what? Yeah. Okay. I'll read it. Make things easier. I move to enter into executive session pursuant to section 101 1051D, F, and H of the New York State Open Meetings Law and invite all members of the Board of Supervisors, the county attorney, county manager, personnel officer, and finance director to attend. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, we got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in executive session.